David can't be a dick anymore?
I mean, he can.
Hi, David.
How are you?
I'm perfect, sir.
Good.
I'm gonna start. Jim's not sitting, but we're gonna go. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna.
Are we ready?
Grab a glass of water.
Hello from Board Developer. It's Business Ahas, a show about the eureka moment that launched you into the next level of success. I'm here with your host, Jim Hayden, and I'd like to welcome David Paul. A talented coach, consultant, and leader, he has served as both a CEO and venture capitalist investor for a variety of organizations, from technology to service companies. David has more than 10 years experience growing and guiding firms through their most difficult and profitable cycles. For example, he was responsible for deploying $15 million of growth capital from 2016 through 2019. He also sat on the board of directors for big name tech companies such as Allbound and PetDesk. We are really excited to hear what his business aha is today. Take it away, Jim.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Danny. And welcome also, Carrie. And so obviously Carrie and Danny are both our co-producers of Business Ahas. And gosh, I'm really excited to have you, David, and for lots of reasons. Probably the biggest is that I'm really glad to call you my friend. And it's been really great to grow our relationship over the years that you've moved to Arizona. That introduction from Danny was fantastic. Also, I'd like to touch on a little bit during our conversation today, if we have time, with the fact that you're now dad of 3 daughters under the age of 3 years old with a set of twins. So really excited about that and your life, what's happened as a whole. As everybody knows, our business ahas, I don't know the aha. So we invite guests that have extreme experience and successes in life. David's one of those coaches who's going to tell you that you're completely full of shit, and you're still going to love him at the end of the day, because he's one of those people that can really kind of drive through to the root of a problem. And if anybody is interested in having David involved in their life professionally as an executive coach, he is phenomenal. So I just wanted to throw that out there for David as well. But today I'm going to do just one quite little shift, and that is I'm going to start off with an actual aha of myself for David. The very first time we had dinner together, we went to Steak 44, and I remember exactly the table we were sitting at. I remember sitting down. I remember ordering a glass of wine, and I asked David, "Do you like something to drink?" And David said, "No, I don't drink." And it hit me just right that moment that if you plan to go out to dinner with somebody, especially at a nicer restaurant, typically you have a drink. An adult beverage. And I was a little taken back. And I obviously didn't want to make an issue of it like I'm making an issue of it now. And made me kind of reflect and think that not everybody has to drink when you go out to dinner, no matter what the circumstances are. But it was interesting. So that was a little aha for me. And I'm just curious, David, if you've had other experiences with folks when you mentioned to them that you don't drink, that they either pry or they don't pry, or kind of how that's kind of evolved for you.
Yeah, I think my co-producer's coming in. Hold on.
Hello, co-producer.
Oh, you're leaving? Okay. You don't even get to see how cute she is. So like she just ran in and ran out real quick. So anyway, Jim, thank you, for acknowledging that. I'm celebrating 14 years of sobriety this July. I got sober when I was 22 years old because, I had an alcohol and drug problem, sustain myself without doing it. And, I was able to, I never really understood that. I didn't think it was possible to have a semblance of a life without any of those types of, libations. And, you really can. And the ones that really, are really curious about it, generally seem to be the ones that, want to dig in deeper about why, you can't, you don't need to drink in these kind of locations. So, it was, thanks for noticing, Jim. And, it's a pretty good life for me. I'm a happy customer. So
fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing. So David, I'm going to turn it over to you just 1 second, just to share with everybody, just again, as a reminder, we ask our guests to come on and talk about a business aha moment, something that's happened in their lives professionally that really, really made them kind of turn their head sideways. And again, I'm not aware of them. So we walk through that, talk through that. And I'm very excited to hear yours. And with that, David, it's all yours.
It was in Arizona, my biggest business aha, and it was not too long ago, actually. For one reason or another, just the places, despite my best efforts, the places or the platforms in which I was investing through just didn't work out. Kind of personal dynamics between the managing partners or whatever. It just seemed to implode no matter where I went. And I would wake up in the morning looking at my phone and I would just be seething angry. What I realized was, this was the aha, is that I've had a very wide career for being a younger type guy. I've been a scuba diving instructor. I've been a substance abuse professional. I've been a home healthcare CEO. I've been a venture capitalist. In every single one of those professions, I really enjoyed bits and pieces of what I did within those. How could I be so driven at some point in this career and then all of a sudden get burnt out about it and want to do something else? And that was really confusing to me. Like, how could it vacillate so much? And I realized it wasn't the actual career that was making me fulfilled. It was I guess it was the power words within those. Like, what were the drivers within the context? What activities did I do that really, really wanted me to push and to do better and to do better? Those 3 or 4 characteristics for me were always prevalent, right? Those were the things that I really doing. And what I learned was learning, growing, and being impactful. And I realized that it did not matter what I was doing, whether I was, consulting lawn care companies or, pushing capital in the biggest, most innovative tech companies on the planet. As long as I was learning, growing, and being impactful, it didn't matter. And that was my biggest aha moment. And I'll say the second, I'm going to give you 2 business ahas, Jim, just because, you paid for it. Is that I read a really interesting book the other day, and this has just put me in a complete brain warp. The amount of intelligence somebody has is not so much what they know, is as much as what they can unlearn, where there's just so much tribal, anecdotal frameworks in our own minds. And I think the power of my ability to unlearn a lot of those frameworks and new learned concepts is really going to propel me forward and not hold me back.
Wow. We had breakfast a few months ago, and you had mentioned to me the 2 words that really resonated. And the 2 words that resonated to me, which ended up now be your aha, was the whole ivory tower. Mm-hmm. In working in the world of venture capital, sitting up in the ivory tower and making just millions of dollars of decisions on businesses, but not having that impact, not having that individual ability to be impactful with what you are true to. I think my hat's off, because obviously you, since you have found it, it's really created kind of a new place for you. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And because of that, I've been able to kind of go back into venture capital in a much more impactful, meaningful way. So it's been a really great journey for me. And, as long as I can keep my shit together with these 3 kids, it'll be okay.
And at the very end there, David, you talked about what you can unlearn. And when you first said it, I was thinking to myself as, we have, 57 gallons of stuff inside of our 50-gallon container. You have to have an ability to purge at some point, to unlearn and take things out, to be able to put new things in. And then after you explained a little bit more to me, I realized that wasn't what you were saying, which makes me also think a little bit about the fact that we should really listen to the message that's being delivered intently. And if you listen very well, then I heard what you really meant. And the whole idea to unlearn is, don't get caught up in tribal knowledge. Don't get caught up in this, well, we have done it this way for the last 74 years. Why should we do any differently? And your response to that is, because you should. It's because you should look at it differently. And you hear the cliches of people say, hey, why don't you think out of the box? Obviously it's, and I think you're a believer in, the box, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's got them, including myself, to infinitum. I just need to tell my inner monologue to shut up so I can be able to listen and stop listening to myself and myself think about myself and start listening to other people.
Interesting. What is actually the title of the book? I'm very curious.
Oh, it was by Adam Grant. I'll get it to you. I forgot.
It's called Think Again.
That's it. Did you read it?
I have it. I'm a huge Adam Grant fan.
So as you're working with clients, I mean, you just finished this book, but as you're now working with clients and talking about the whole unlearning concept, I would presume you're going to be weaving that into your practice.
My model, I'm trying to, and it's a work in progress, is I'm not trying to find the most stellar management teams with the hottest tech companies. I'm trying to find really great companies and really great, niches that have a lot of tailwinds with founders that need help from, essentially like an operational co-founder, with capital, not somebody who's going to be there all day, but I'm not saying I know all the answers, but I know a lot of people, that, are a lot smarter than me that can help them. So far, it's been going really well. I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
If you're not being impactful in your own mind, in your life, professionally, change it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Change it.
That's your value. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that as you're talking about kind of that horizontal line as far as leadership goes, doesn't matter if you're coaching, if you invested in a business, if you find an operator that truly can understand and really understand this, that they don't know what they don't know. If they really can embrace the fact that, I just don't know what I don't know, and they can rely on experts like you and the people that are around you in your circle of friends to provide advice, to allow them to sometimes get out of their own way. But for you in this new definition of finding your own impactful self, to have the ability to make that type of profound impact on a business and another human that's been leading that business. Mm-hmm. It makes a difference because I think that it's very palpable, right?
Right. And the thing is when I translate it to myself, I don't need to have this giant firm. I don't need to have 100 million assets under management. I can have a handful of LPs that come into business. I write my own check, and we can have a lot of fun doing it and have a great lifestyle. And there's no one I got to impress.
You do. You have 3 daughters and a wife that you probably need to.
I do need to some level of standard. I do need to uphold.
How is life with now 4 women in your life daily, 24/7, 365?
I feel like I'm growing a uterus. It's a lot. It really is a lot.
Oh, my stars.
Mm-hmm.
David, I genuinely appreciate your time this morning. Absolutely. It's great hearing the story, I think that people really can understand what the words you're trying to say about having an impact in your own heart and your own life, and having that impact be able to act upon it and be truly fulfilled professionally. And I think if you have that fulfillment professionally, I think it transcends to your personal life as well. Would you agree?
I'd agree.
That's awesome. So super. Thank you very much for joining us today.
I have a question. I love the idea of that you were a scuba diver and then you went to venture capital.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice any similarities between scuba diving and then doing venture capital investing?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So I'm thinking about this, and the first thing that I would probably say is understanding and being able to react to nonverbal cues. When you're underwater and you have a regulator in your mouth, you have to understand what kind of people are doing, where their eyes are shooting, are they scared? Are they not scared? What are they trying to tell you? And I think when you're kind of looking at a venture capital perspective, when you're talking to a founder who may or may not feel entirely comfortable with you because you're, on the other end of the table from them, what are they trying to say to you? What are they trying to ask for help but not ask for help for? And, what do they need? And I think that would be probably a pretty interesting correlation.
Wow, David, I think that's interesting, but I'm actually I'm gonna disagree with you. I think I have a better one.
Okay.
I think when you learn to scuba dive and you become certified, you learn something that you can't unlearn. And once you've learned it, you'll never forget it as long as you live when you scuba dive. And I think there is an ability to transcend it into business because of how uncomfortable it makes you. And the term is buddy air.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you scuba dive and you have a problem with your tank and you're certified, you are taught how to share air with another person. Mm-hmm. They take out their mouthpiece and they give it to you, mm-hmm. and they put their mouthpiece in your mouth, mm-hmm. and they're sharing with you life and air. And I think in the business world, from my perspective, as you were describing what you just said, it's okay to have buddy air, somebody else to be able to help you.
It's a good one.
Wow. I was just thinking about that when you talked about that, Danny, and the correlation of the two. It really hit me. And you look at the person that you might have met for the first time.
Yeah, you're like, put that thing in my mouth. Yeah.
and they're shoving that thing in your mouth because you're talking about life and death, and obviously having, again, those nonverbal cues, like you mentioned, and then on top of the fact of, having the ability to rely on somebody else for your safety. And in the business world, relying on somebody else for your safety.
So David, you've talked about, Adam Grant's Think Again and having to unlearn things, and how you've had this business ahas moment on really your values and how you reapproach business. Is there anything that when you're working with other business leaders that you're trying to help them unlearn?
That everyone has got, just tons of different flavors of bias with them, that just because this is the way it's always been, this is the way it's always going to be, or that just because we tried this once doesn't mean it won't work again. Right. There's just tons of biases. There's a lot of value in it, but you need to understand where to apply it. So for example, hire the best people. Like a typical business owner is going to hear, okay, that means overpay for employees. It really means, hire the best people within a specific pay range. Anecdotal information like that, it's different. There's just core stuff within it, that needs to be unpacked rather than just thrown out just like a loose thing that an advisory board member would tell you. You know what I mean?
So that was actually 2 digs on boards. So that's enough. You're not allowed to have 3 because
boards are extremely important. I'm a huge board governance supporter. There's just, and as Jim will tell you, there's a lot of boards that make 0 sense and that are counterproductive to CEOs. And I think that companies, and I'm going to plug you, Jim, like Board Developer, that finds the right people for the right person is really important.
Really appreciate that. It was a great question, Carrie. I think as David applies, the principles of Adam and on what you had the ability to unlearn, we go through life as teenagers and then adults and college and getting in business and getting our first job. And at the end of the day, having that impact, and then all those things that led to where you are in a business, and then be able to say it's okay to think about something differently. It's okay to handle a situation differently. It's okay to process something that you're not so used to processing it the same way that you always have in the past. And David, as you said, on hiring the right people and making sure that you hire the right leaders and talent that are going to help move the football forward. And there's obviously it's an analogy, but if you think about it from a business perspective, your business's success is not about you. It's about this entity now that you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 employees that are depending upon you to make the business successful, because you're making their payroll.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if you think that you can do it yourself, it's not a good position to be in.
Well, super. David, again, thank you so much for today. It's been fantastic. Looking forward to our next time together and enjoying your 4 beautiful women in your life on your daily basis. And I can't wait to see you next time soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Business Ahas, brought to you by Board Developer. If you enjoyed David's story and could relate to his business aha moment, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share all the things we love to do. We'd really appreciate it.